In this chapter, we talk about cost allocations. Specifically, we'll talk about how to allocate those factory overhead costs. When we talked about allocating factory overhead costs, we talked about a cost driver, or what drives that overhead cost in a way to allocate it to jobs. I want you to watch this YouTube video and think about what would be that cost driver to allocate any factory overhead to making this baseball glove. Think about, should it be machine hours, should it be direct labor hours, or should it be materials?
We're here at our Wilson Glove Lab in Chicago, Illinois. Colors can be inspired from different products in the marketplace in different types of life, not just sports. When it comes to patterns, Aso meets with a lot of players, whether it be youth players or Major League Baseball players. He finds out what they need to function and how the glove needs to function to make the game better for them. Well, once the designs are finished, we send that over to the factory and then we start making samples. To make a ball glove, it takes about 18 hours. It starts with selecting the leather.
Leather is so important, and really important thing is certain level of softness is needed. Certain level of stretchiness is needed. Our sport stock is perfect for that part. This is a cutting section, really old machine.
You can see that he's laying the cutting die on the leather, and we cut in a certain direction. This is a cutting die for a palm. This is what they lay down and cut.
They check everything detailed and make the hole clearer. After the process over there, I make a patch all clear. They bring here and I make a stamping by motors.
Everything comes out for the stamping. This is the stamping die that he uses for the A2K stamp in the palm. All the custom embroidery happens before the glove is made, because once the glove is put together, you can't get the leather pieces flat again to embroider on.
Next step, stitching back fingers.
Gloves are actually made inside out. This is where they are turned and brought to the, I guess what you'd say, right side up.
This is really important job here. Right now, not the round shape. That's why they're making here round shape first. This stage, put the lining into the shell. This is a step for binding stitching.
There's a level of precision. Not too tight, not too loose. We use a little bit of a thinner lace. We use a high quality leather also for function. If the lace is too thick, then the glove won't function correctly.
We cannot make by machine for a baseball glove. Everything man-made.
It's those kind of details that go into our gloves, and that's why we feel we make the best gloves on earth.
As you can tell, there seems to be a lot of different cost drivers depending on the activity that is used to make this baseball glove. Because of that, we might want to consider using activity-based costing to get a more accurate measure of what cost is going into each product we make. What activity-based costing does is break down the production of a product into different activities. And then we will assign our overhead cost based on these different activities, or what we call our cost pools. After we've identified the activity, then we'll look at each cost driver for each of these different activities. We'll compute an activity rate for each of these activities. We do that by taking our estimated overhead per activity and dividing that by our expected use of that cost driver per activity. And then finally, we can allocate the overhead using that activity rate and how much we expect to use of that cost driver for each product. Therefore, in activity-based costing, what we want to do is allocate our overhead based on the activity to produce the product. You'll notice our total overhead doesn't change. They'll give us an allocation of this total overhead based on activity. Our job is to determine an activity rate for each activity and then allocate overhead based on that. To determine the activity rate, this is the same as we had been doing determining those predetermined overhead rates. We take that total budgeted activity for cost and we will divide that by our total activity base, which is what drives that overhead cost. As you can see, each activity is given that budgeted activity cost. Again, in total, this will equal our total overhead. What we do is we divide that by our activity base, and this can be a different base for each activity. This division will give us our activity rate, and it will be based on whatever that allocation is. And then what we're going to do is take that activity rate and times it by our actual activity and to determine what our overhead cost will be. This is a very time-consuming piece of this puzzle, so what you might want to do is set it up in an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe put some formulas in to divide and then multiply by the actual activity to come to that allocated overhead. Activity-based costing allows management to make better decisions because they can control overhead rates and how they're allocated to products. This allows for more accurate product pricing. Also, to make sure we are accurately using activity-based costing, management will set up activity group levels in order to characterize these activities. There are 4 different group levels. One is the unit level, which is performed for each unit of production. The second one is the batch level, which is performed for each batch of a product. A product level activity is performed for each new product, and a facility level activity is performed as it supports the entire production process. One other tool that management uses to increase the efficiency of the production of a product is just-in-time processing. Just-in-time processing wants to have the right amount of materials and parts or products just as they are needed, having no excess available. What you must have to make this work is dependable suppliers. So if you do need more supplies, they can send those to you immediately. You also need multi-skilled workforce so that the workforce you have in place can be used to complete whatever task is necessary. You also have to have a high total quality control system. The benefits of just-in-time processing include a reduction or elimination of inventory. This is helpful because this can enhance the product quality as you're constantly getting new materials, and it also includes the reduction in rework and inventory storage, which will provide production cost savings.